If you're interested in glowing up, then I'm Celeste Louw, and this is Brave Enough. Have you ever noticed that some questions seem to follow you around? Not the practical ones. Not what am I making for dinner or did I reply to that email? I mean the questions that seem to sit quietly in the background of your life. The ones that don't ask to be noticed, but somehow always are. One of mine has always been, am I doing enough? Maybe yours is different. Maybe yours is, am I enough? Or why can't I get this right? Or when will I finally feel like I've arrived? Whatever the question is, I don't think it starts with us. I think it starts with a story. A story we've been telling ourselves for so long that we've stopped noticing it's even there. I've been thinking a lot about stories lately. Not the stories we tell other people, the ones we tell ourselves. The ones that quietly shape the way we see the world. The ones that decide how we walk into a room. The ones that tell us whether we're succeeding or failing. The ones that tell us whether we've earned the right to rest. And here's what I've realized. Most of us don't question those stories. We just live them. I don't know about you, but there are days when I get to the end of the day completely exhausted. The kind of exhaustion that settles in your bones. You've answered the messages, taken the calls, solved the problems, been there for people, done the shopping, made the dinner, ticked the boxes, and you finally sit down. And instead of feeling satisfied, there's this quiet little voice that says, you could have done more. I don't know where that voice came from. Actually, maybe I do. I think it started a very long time ago. I wonder how young we are when we start believing that doing is more important than being. As children, we praised for what we achieve. Good marks, good behavior, helping, winning, performing, being brave, being the responsible one, being the easy child, being the one who doesn't make life difficult. None of those things are bad. But somewhere along the line, achievement quietly becomes identity. Without even noticing it, we begin believing, if I do enough, I'll be enough. And that's a heavy story to carry. Because no matter how much you do, there's always more. Another email, another project, another person who needs something, another expectation, another reason to feel like you haven't quite done enough yet. And then we wonder why we're tired, not just physically, soul tired. I think there's a difference. Physical tired just needs sleep. Soul tiredness needs something else. It needs us to stop long enough to ask ourselves a better question. Not what else should I be doing, but what's driving me. Because those aren't the same thing. Am I working because I love what I do? Or because I'm terrified of not being enough if I stop? Am I helping because I genuinely care? Or because I don't know who I am unless someone needs me? And am I saying yes because it's the right thing? Or am I saying yes because I'm afraid people won't like me if I say no? They're uncomfortable questions. I've asked myself every one of them. Sometimes I like the answers, and sometimes I don't. And maybe that's okay, because I've stopped believing that self-awareness is about finding all the right answers. I think it's about becoming honest enough to ask the difficult questions. And talking about difficult questions, here's another one. Who taught us that rest has to be earned? Think about that for a minute. Why do we feel guilty when we stop? Why do we apologize for taking a break? Why do we sit on the couch thinking about everything we should be doing instead of allowing ourselves to simply be present? Who taught us that? Because I don't think we were born believing that. It's just another story, one we've inherited, one we've accepted without questioning it. The funny thing about stories is, once you've believed them long enough, they stop sounding like stories. They sound like truth. That's what makes them so powerful, and sometimes so dangerous. Something else I've noticed is that people who ask themselves whether they're not doing enough are usually the people who are already carrying more than most. Maybe they're raising children or looking after aging parents, holding families together, working long hours, trying to build businesses, support friends, serve communities, trying to make a difference, trying to heal from things nobody else even knows about. And still they whisper, I should be doing more. More. It's always more. More patient, more productive, more successful, more spiritual, more available, more disciplined, more. I wonder what happens if we never reach the point where we believe we've done enough. What kind of life is that? What kind of relationship do we end up having with ourselves? Because if everything we do is filtered through the belief that it's never enough, we'll never experience the joy of simply being where we are. We'll always be chasing, always arriving somewhere we haven't reached yet, always measuring, always comparing, always feeling like we're behind. I don't know about you, but I'm tired of living like that. Not because I've mastered it. Far from it. I'm tired because I recognize it in myself. And recognition is usually where change begins. So before we go, I don't want you to leave here thinking, I have to try to do more. That's not the point of today's conversation. I want you to leave asking better questions. When you catch yourself wondering if you're doing enough, stop for a moment and ask yourself, who taught me to measure my worth like this? Is this really my voice? Or is it someone else's expectation that I've carried for so long, I no longer know the difference? And if you discover that you've been living by a story that was never yours, be brave enough to put it down. You don't have to have all the answers today. You don't have to have your purpose mapped out. You don't have to become a different person before tomorrow morning. Maybe all you need to do is become a little more aware of the stories you're believing, because awareness changes things. Not all at once, but it changes the next choice and then the one after that. And before you know it, you're living a different story. Not because your circumstances have changed, because you did. So this week, be curious. Notice what you say to yourself. Notice the questions that keep coming back. Notice the expectations you carry. Notice when your anger shows up. Notice where your disappointment lives. Not so that you can judge yourself, but so that you can understand yourself. Because understanding creates compassion. And compassion creates space for change. Thank you for spending this time with me. These conversations aren't about me having the answers. They're about us having the courage to ask better questions. So until next time, be brave enough to question the stories you've accepted as truth. Be brave enough to challenge the voice that says you'll never be enough. Be brave enough to believe that your worth has never depended on your performance. And above all, be brave enough to become the person you were created to be, not the person the world expects you to be. Until next time, be brave enough to question the stories you've accepted as truth. If you or someone you know needs help, contact the Tears Foundation on 08000 83277 24/7, free and confidential. If this meant anything to you, if it touched you or made you learn and grow, then maybe you want to like, follow, or share it with someone who might need it. I'll see you next week. Be brave enough.